Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Hoekstra. We are now starting Module 2, Lesson 1. We are on page 7 of our new book. Lesson 1, opposite quantities combine to make 0. And if you'll notice, I already have the essential question up there. What is an additive inverse? So go ahead, fill that in. What is an additive inverse? This whole first exercise on that page, we're actually going to skip it for now. We will work on it in class, but we are going to skip it for now, so don't cross it out and think that, we're all done with it. All right, so I actually want you to go to page 8. All right, we're going to start with example 2. And it talks about counting up and counting down on a number line. All right, so we'll be using the number line for the next couple of days. Use the number line below to practice counting up and counting down. All right, so let's suppose I gave you, well, I gotta have a writing tool, don't I? I gave you the number 7, right? Well, the number 7 is a positive number. I know that because I didn't say that there was anything else. So as soon as I say it's just a number, you're going to assume that it's a positive. All right, positive numbers. In order for me to do that, we're going to count up because that corresponds to positive numbers. All right, and for me to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here at my number line. I'm always going to start at 0. All right, we're going to start here. And I'm going to count up 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? If you want, you could also just start at 0 and draw a line straight over to the 7. Okay? Either one of those is fine. You can do the bunny hops, or you can do one great big leap. Well, we could also have another example. And let's suppose we did, I don't know, -5. Well, counting down corresponds to negative numbers. Yep, if you haven't figured out, this book is going to be about positive and negative numbers and how to work with them. All right, so -5. I'm actually going to do this one below it. It doesn't have to be below it. I'm just doing it because of space. Start at 0 again. And again, you can bunny hop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could just draw a line straight over to -5. Again, I only drew it down below only because of space and making sure you guys knew which one was which, right? This one goes to the -5. The one that's in purple, I have going to +7. You can draw them both on top of the line. You can draw them both below the line. I just chose to do it that way so you could keep track of which was which. Okay, so just so we all understand, when you're working on this, and you're going to be doing this a little bit on your own, you're always going to start at 0. All right, we're just going to start at 0, and you're going to start by drawing in that like a line there so we can kind of get started. Well, that distance between 0 and whatever number we have or are asked to find, right, there's actually a word for that distance. Okay, the distance is called the absolute value. Okay, so let's just kind of write down the absolute value. It's 2 words. Let's make sure we get that right. Absolute value is the distance. It's the distance between a number and 0. It's the distance between a number, and I'm really lazy, so I'm just going to write the number sign. You guys know it as the pound sign, but I call it the number sign, between a number and 0. Okay? Now, because it has to do with distance, distance is always a positive value. Distance is always positive. All right, it's always a positive, which means absolute value is always a positive. All right, now math people are super lazy. To write absolute value, that's a lot of writing for me. So we have this really crazy symbol that we use, and it kind of, I don't know, it's a line, and then we'll put a number inside. I'm going to use the number A, even though I know it's a letter, but it's going to represent any number. The absolute value of A is equal to A. But that is also the same as the absolute value of -A. All right, so the absolute value of A is A. The absolute value of -A is also A. All right, let me show you the difference. So if I said to you, An example, if I said, what's the absolute value of negative 17? Right? How far away is negative 17 from the number 0? Like how many bunny hops would you have to count? And you would count to the left or count down, right? You would count 17 of those hops. So it's a positive value. All right. Now, the next question says, what's the relationship between 7 and negative 7? Well, 7 and negative 7, they're opposites, right? One's positive, one's negative. They're opposites. 7 and negative 7 are opposites. Okay. They are both 7 away from 0, right? They're both 7 away from 0, just one's to the left and one's to the right. One's up, one's down, if you're looking like maybe at a thermometer, okay? But they are both 7 away. All right, take a look at example 3 on page 9. What is the sum of the card values shown? So we've got these cards that we've been handed, right? And we have to figure out the sum. Sum, that tells me to add. I'm going to put a little plus sign. Okay, use the counting method provided on this number line. So what I'm going to do, according to what I told you to start with, I start at 0, right? This is where I'm going to start. And I'm just going to go in order of the cards. Well, the 5 is positive. I'm going to count up. The next one, I'm going to count down. Negative 4, I'm going to count down. And this is a positive 8, so I'm going to count up. Okay, just so I have some idea of what's going on. So I'm going to start at my 0. And it says I'm going to start at 5. So I'm going to start with a 5. Count to 5. There it is. I counted up 5, right? Then I'm going to count down 5. Then I'm going to count down, and notice that my arrow started where the last one left off. I'm going to start with this last one left off. I'm going to count down 4. And then my last arrow, I'm going to start where that last one left off, and I'm going to count up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When I get there, that's my answer. I'm going to circle my answer. So what's the final position on my number line? I stopped at 4. All right, that's where I stopped. What card, right? Let's suppose I have to go and I am dealt another card, or they're in a stack and I have to pull up a card. What card or combination of cards, let's suppose I get to pick 2 or 3, whatever. What would I need to get back to 0? Well, notice where I left off. I left off at 4. What would I need to get back to 0? Well, I'm going to need a negative 4. Right? I need a negative 4. Now, it could be 1 card, it could be 2 cards, it could be 3 cards, right? But I need a negative 4 to get back to 0. Right? Need 1 card, 2 cards, I don't know how many it'll be, but if I can get a negative 4, I can get back there. All right, well, on page 10, right, go over to the next page, it says exercise 2. I would like you to give these first couple of questions a shot. Let's see here. Let's do the first 3 on your own. When you get those first 3 done, right? I want you to do these 3 right here on your own. When you get those 3 done, go ahead, unpause the video, and we'll keep going together. All right, so hit pause right now. Okay, so how far away is 7 from 0? Well, it's 7 away. It's to the right. And negative 7 is the opposite of 7. And then that third question, how far is negative 7 from 0? Well, it's 7 away and it's to the left because it was a negative number, right? Now, thinking back to our previous work, how would you use the counting on method to represent the following? So how would I figure it out if my first card, let's suppose I had that stack of cards, right? That first card is a 7 and the second card is a negative 7, right? So if we went back up and I said, all right, the first card you get You were dealt a 7, right? You could draw and go over here to 7, right? And then the very next card you're handed is a -7, right? You're going to come right on back, aren't you? Well, so you're going to start at 0, count over 7 units to the right, starting there, come back 7 units to the left. Okay? So thinking back, we're going to add those. So what does this tell us about the sum of 7 and its opposite? 7 sum tells me to add -7. What did you notice when we took 7 and added it to -7? We got 0, right? We got 0. So what do we know? A number and its opposite is going to give me my 0. Look at the arrows that you drew for 7 and -7. What relationship exists between these two arrows? Well, the arrows are the same length, but they point in opposite directions, right? The arrows are the same length, right? They're the same length, which means they're the same distance. They're the same length, but point in opposite directions. Do you think this would hold true for any sum of any number and its opposite, right? If I gave you 3 and -3, will it work? What if I gave you -6 and +6? Will it still work? Yep, it's going to work no matter what. Either way, no matter what, I will still always get 0, won't I? So what is an additive inverse? This is the key right down here. Put a star by it, grab your highlighter, do something so that this idea stands out to you. All right, this is important to know. This last one here is important to know. The additive inverse is a number that's the opposite of another. The additive inverse is a number, again, too lazy to write the word number, so we'll just do the pound sign, is a number, well, you call it hashtag, that's the opposite of another. And then you also need to catch that if I take a number A, whatever it is, and I add the opposite of it, -A, I will get 0. That's what's going to happen when I do that. All right, go to the top of page 11. All right, go to the top of page 11. In fact, let's do a couple examples right above this here, right up in this space. Let's write an example, right? So for example, I could say -5 plus 5, right? Those are opposites of each other. They're going to equal 0, right? Or you could say 27 plus -27, right? They're going to give me a 0. Okay, so let's finish this up, right? Let's finish strong. Example 4, modeling with real world examples. Yeah, because when do we ever see these numbers in the real life, right? How could -10 be used in a story problem? So we could say, like, on January 1st, right, New Year's Day, the temperature was -10 degrees, right? There it is in a story problem. And then we could do something to it. So, but that's how we could use it. Write a story problem using football to represent the expression 4 plus -4, right? So I'm going to say the U of M football team ran 4 yards. The next play, the MSU defense sacked the quarterback, QB, quarterback, 4 yards behind where they started. Also known as the line of scrimmage, but if you don't know all of your football terminology, that wouldn't make sense. But if you know your football terminology, go ahead and toss that on there. All right, last one. Write a story problem using money to represent the expression 200 plus negative 200. Ooh, I like $200, right? So I'm going to say I deposited, that means put it in the bank. I deposited $200. I deposited $200 in the bank. Maybe it was at the ATM machine, right? Maybe it was with the actual teller. Then wrote a check for $200. Or you could say use the debit card, right? You could say used the debit card instead of writing a check if you wanted to say that, right? So you had deposited, that's positive money, right? And then when you write a check or you use a debit actually seriously does mean negative money. You're losing money. All right, so give page 12 a try when you come into class, and hopefully you guys had a good time learning about positives and negatives. See you later.